Hello, my name is Mehzabeen Dode and I'm the clinical psychologist at the Sir H.N. Reliance Foundation Hospital, and today happens to be the International Women's Day. The theme of this year is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, which has essentially brought about the whole new hashtag of Break the Bias. With that in mind, let's get together and talk about the impact of gender equality on our collective mental health. But before we go any further, I want you to answer this riddle. Okay, so a man and his son are driving on the freeway and they are in a terrible accident and the father is killed. The son was brought to the hospital's emergency room, and as soon as he was brought in, the emergency doctor sees the boy and says, "Oh, I can't treat him. That's my son." How is that possible? I asked this riddle to so many people, and almost everybody was flummoxed by how this could possibly happen, until one day I thought of asking this to my 14-year-old nephew. He immediately turned to me and said, "That's his mom, right?" Be honest, how many of you actually found it difficult to answer this riddle? Now, Women's Day, perhaps one of the most cliched days to speak about gender equality, but hear me out. We know that gender inequality has many detrimental effects on the mental health of women. In comparison to men, women are twice as likely to have generalized anxiety disorder, twice as likely to have panic disorders, approximately thrice as likely to develop depression during their lifetime, and 4 to 5 times more likely to have some sort of an eating disorder, and also more than twice as likely to develop PTSD and many such conditions. While it is true that many factors do play a role in mental illnesses, including biological differences between the sexes, studies have shown a link between experiencing discrimination and mental health symptoms. Of course, we know that gender equality is fair, it is right and just, but it is so much more than that. This equality is also of equal interest to men and their mental health. That is because if you listen and carefully make a list of what men say about what is it that they want in their lives, gender equality is actually a way for us to get that. Gender equality is good for the country. Studies have shown that those countries that are more gender equal also are the countries that score highest on the happiness scale. It is also good for companies and organizations, and so many researchers on this have provided conclusive proof. The more gender equal companies are, the better it is for the workers. The labor force is happier, they have lower job turnover, lower level of attrition, recruitment is easier. They also have a higher rate of retention, higher job satisfaction, higher rates of productivity. The bottom line is gender equality is good for business. And the other thing is, it is good for men. It is good for the kind of lives that they want to live. Because young men, especially in today's times, have changed enormously. I think the riddle that I put forth earlier was a brilliant indicator of how things have changed over the years. There is plenty of psychological and sociological data to prove the more egalitarian our relationships are, the happier both partners would be. Research over the years form persuasive data to prove that gender equality is not a zero-sum game, but a win-win for both men and women. It goes beyond simply pitching in or helping out. It is about sharing. Data show that when men share the housework and childcare, their children do better in school. Their children have lower rates of absenteeism and higher rates of achievement. They are less likely to diagnose with ADHD and are significantly less likely to see a psychiatrist or to be put on medication. So when men share the housework and childcare, their children are happier and healthier, and I'm sure all men out there want this. When men share the workload, obviously their wives are happier too. Not only that, the wives are healthier and less likely to see a therapist. Sociological studies over long periods of time show that the rate of depression and anxiety are also significantly down in both men and women. This also contributes to higher level of marital satisfaction, that is lesser conflicts. Gender equality also promotes healthier lifestyles in both men and women. The rate of drinking is less often in men. They tend to resort to recreational drugs lesser. Both men and women are also much less likely to go to the ER and more likely to go to a doctor for routine screenings. And finally, when men share housework and childcare, they have more sex. So, there is an overwhelming amount of literature that proves that gender equality is in the interest of the countries, of the companies, and of men, their children, and their partners. Gender equality is not a win-lose situation from a mental health standpoint. It is a win-win for everyone. And we know that we cannot break the biases and fully empower women and girls unless we engage the boys and men. As early as 1915, there was an article published in the New York Times Magazine called Feminism for Men. And this was the first line of the article. Feminism will make it possible for the first time for men to be free. On this Women's Day, let us all come together and break the bias to protect our collective mental health and enhance our well-being, both men and women alike. Thank you.